What's going on, guys? This is going to be week 6, 5-minute fantasy, booming and busting running backs. So my running back start of the week is going to be Kerryon Johnson. Um, Remember, the Green Bay rushing defense can be had. I don't know why the Dallas Cowboys stopped running the football with Ezekiel Elliott. I think it's because they got down early and they lost confidence in their run, and I think they had too much confidence in Dak. But Ezekiel Elliott still had a high yards per carry mark. Look for Kerryon Johnson coming off a bye week with the Detroit Lions to really be able to get into that Green Bay defense because Detroit's going to want to keep the ball away from Green Bay, and they're going to be able to do it really well with Kerryon. Sony Michel for the New England Patriots going up against the Giants. He's going to be having a great week this week. I don't think that the Patriots are going to be really wanting to be dropping back and passing the ball with Brady. I think he's dinged up, and I think that the Giants have too good of a pass rush, for what it is, for Brady to want to drop back at all. So look for Sony Michel to return to 2018 postseason Sony Michel with all those hard rushes down the middle and all those touchdowns that he had. Look for a form of that. Another running back I'm going to say is James Conner. Right, so the Chargers have not had a very good running defense, especially with Derwin James out this year. Derwin James, he was one of the staples on their really stacked defense, but as soon as he went out, it was kind of like a linchpin that everything really relied on fell apart. So look for James Conner to really be, pushing up the middle a lot like Sony Michel. This week, I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say Joe Mixon's going to have an emergent game for this year. Joe Mixon was a guy who, coming into the 2017 NFL draft, he was someone that people thought that talent-wise, he should be in the top 5 of all those draft picks. Ahead of Christian McCaffrey, ahead of Leonard Fournette, ahead of Alvin Kamara, ahead of Kareem Hunt. Joe Mixon was supposed to be so supremely talented. He just had character issues off the field. I won't delve into it, but I believe it was domestic violence dealing with his girlfriend. And he dropped to the Bengals. That's been a horrible, point for his career. But against a Baltimore defense that is getting more and more suspect, especially with their safety, Tony Jefferson, out, I think Joe Mixon can have a real bounce-back game this week. Devonta Freeman for the Atlanta Falcons. I think that this Arizona-Atlanta game could potentially be another shootout just like Atlanta-Houston was last week. Not quite that high scoring. And Devonta Freeman has had a really, really disappointing career since Kyle Shanahan went to San Francisco. And I think that Devonta Freeman could have somewhat of a throwback game. So look for him in another flex role, just like Joe Mixon. And then the same thing for Austin Eckler. You could tell in the Denver Broncos game that they wanted to give Melvin Gordon the ball, but they couldn't really convince themselves that they were ready to move off Austin Eckler. I think as they slowly transition Melvin Gordon back into the offense, Austin Eckler is definitely going to start taking more of a third down, more of an ancillary role. But look for him to be getting a few passes on third down and being able to take them pretty far with things like that. Running backs to sit, Leonard Fournette. I know the last 2 weeks I said sit him, and then on my, where I was right, where I was wrong, I said, okay, I missed on Leonard Fournette both weeks, but this week I'm positive. The New Orleans Saints defense, they are deadly, especially their running defense. They've been shutting down, every running back they face. They shut down Todd Gurley, but that's a different story. But they shut down, Chris Carson. They shut down the twin running back set in Tampa Bay. They shut down Ezekiel Elliott. Look for Leonard Fournette, to be stifled this week. Sit Chris Carson. I think that Cleveland is going to be angry, and they always do things like this. I think that Cleveland is going to make a lot of gamble plays, and they're going to have to start passing a lot. I think that they're going to get ahead of themselves, which could lead to big explosive plays from Odell Beckham Jr. So look for Cleveland to potentially have a lead in this game, and I think that Seattle is going to end up going away from Chris Carson relatively early. LaShawn McCoy. Step away from him. I think that this Houston and this Houston-Kansas City game could go a lot like the last 2 games against Kansas City, because Houston has some pretty similar personnel to the Colts and to the Lions, especially defensively. And so what I'm expecting from this game is I'm expecting Houston to be able to score with relative ease, and then I think that Kansas City is going to be playing catch-up a lot, and I don't think they're going to be wanting to run the ball a lot. Todd Gurley this week, I would stay away from him absolutely, because the San Francisco defense is for real. They probably have seven defensive line starters in the NFL, all on that one team. So like they're always fresh, they're always ready, they're always balling. And this week, I have a few guys that you might want to be careful about. If you have somebody that is a good flex option, you might want to switch them out. Christian McCaffrey and Dalvin Cook. Christian McCaffrey, because he's going up against Tampa Bay, who has the number 2 rushing defense, and gives up the third least points to fantasy running backs. And the last time that he didn't have a real Christian McCaffrey game was against Tampa Bay. So look for him to potentially be stifled, especially without the threat of Cam Newton, running, from all angles. That they can really focus in on Christian McCaffrey, which is another reason why he's having such an impressive season. And then Dalvin Cook against the Philadelphia Eagles. Philadelphia has a great defensive line. There's not really much to say about that. Great defensive line, bad defensive backs. So that could make for a non-Dalvin Cook game again this week.